Good afternoon, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Excuse me for sitting down, but these days of online and being able to see, afternoon to our online people as well. It's easier to do it while sitting. My name is Malcolm McCauley, for those of you I haven't met, Non-Executive Chairman of Pure Foods Tasmania Limited. I've got pleasure in welcoming shareholders and guests to the 2021 Annual General Meeting. I note that in attendance today, we've got Michael Cooper, I'm sure all you know, Managing Director, Non-Executive Directors, Sandy Beard, who's online, and also Ken Fleming. Justin Hill, our Company Secretary and Legal Counsel, is with us, as Nick Carter, the Company Auditor, and Simon Jones, External Accountant with WLF Accounting and Advisory. Nick and Simon are able to answer questions on the audited accounts for 30 June 2021 as we get to that part later in the meeting. And there's also several members of the Pure Foods management team, which I'm sure you'll have the opportunity to meet following this meeting. Could I remind you to put your mobile phones on silent if you haven't already, please? I confirm that the attendance and the proxies I hold as chairman represent a quorum, being present for the purposes of the Constitution. I therefore formally declare the 2021 Annual General Meeting open. We will hold the formal voting of resolutions as set out in the notice of meeting first, allowing the opportunity to take questions on those resolutions before the vote. If anyone present has a question, please show your shareholder's card and state your name. Following the voting of resolutions, I think the reason everyone's here is that Michael will provide an update on the current initiatives and operational matters and exciting plans for the future growth of our company. The strategic objective outlined this time last year was to acquire, grow, and develop premium food businesses in Tasmania. I would have to say we've achieved that objective with over 90% increase in company revenue. This shows a huge significant growth. I'd like to thank Michael and his hard-working team members for their commitment and dedication to the operational efficiencies and the development of new products, which has delivered this huge performance. PFT has performed impressively, and this is through the hard work and dedication of Michael and his team. We now move to the formal part of the meeting, which I'm going to take it that the notice of meeting, I table that, but I take it as read. We won't be going through all of those components, just a summary. Also be aware that I intend to vote all the undirected proxies, of which there are a number over the 6 resolutions, which I can tell you on the way through. In addition, the share registry has received proxies from shareholders, which Justin has control of, who have put forward their poll pertaining to each resolution, and they'll be added with today's votes and put up on the ASX this afternoon. So our first item on the agenda is the financial statements, the director's report, auditor's report. This AGM gives shareholders, as I said, the opportunity to ask questions and discuss the reports for the financial year ended June 2021, as announced in the Annual General Report and prepared in accordance with the Corporations Act 2001. Are there any questions from the shareholders on the financial reports before we proceed to the resolutions? Thank you. As voting is based on a poll, meaning everyone votes according to the number of shares held, in addition to the number of proxies received, any shareholder present that has not provided a proxy can vote today and hand in their voting card at the end of the meeting. Resolution 1, that the remuneration report for the company and its controlled entities be adopted by shareholders for the year ended 30th of June 2021 be approved and adopted on the terms and conditions in the explanatory memorandum. I'll take the resolution as read, as per the NOM, as I said. Are there any questions from the floor in relation to the remuneration report? All those in favour, please raise your shareholder's card. Those against? Thank you. I move that the remuneration report as per resolution 1 be carried. There's only 6 of these. Resolution 2, re-election of Ken Fleming as a director. That Kenneth Bruce Fleming, who retires at this AGM as a director by rotation in accordance with Rule 7(2)(b)(4) of the Constitution and Listing Rule 14.5, and who is eligible for re-election, be re-elected as a director of the company. Are there any questions from the floor in relation to this resolution? Those in favour of the resolution, please raise your shareholder card. Those against? Not one, Kenny. Resolution carried. And I also thank Ken for all the work that he's done on this year, ongoing commitment, and particularly his focus on the company acquisitions, which have proven to be very successful. Thanks, Ken. Resolution 3, ratification of issue of convertible notes, tranche 1. That for the purposes of the ASX listing rule 7.4 and for all other purposes, shareholders ratify the issue of 3.8 million convertible notes issued on the 15th of October 2021 on the terms and conditions set out in the explanatory memorandum. Are there any questions from the floor in relation to this resolution? Good. Those in favour, please raise your shareholder voting card. Those against? I move that resolution 3 be carried. Resolution 4, approval of issues of convertible notes, tranche 2. That for the purposes of the ASX listing rule 7.1 and for all other purposes, approval is given for the issue of 1.3 million convertible notes issued on the terms and conditions set out in the explanatory memorandum. Are there any questions from the floor in relation to this resolution? I move that 1.3 million convertible notes be approved. Those in favour, raise your card. Those against? Resolution 4 is carried. Resolution 5, approval to issue convertible notes to directors. That pursuant to and in accordance with listing rule 10.11 and for all other purposes, shareholders approve the issue of convertible notes to the following directors: 75,000 convertible notes to Michael Cooper, 75,000 convertible notes to Sandy Beard, and 50,000 convertible notes to Ken Fleming on the terms and conditions in the explanatory memorandum. Are there any questions from the floor in relation to this resolution? I note that the directors concerned withhold from voting on this resolution. So I move the motion and ask all those in favour, please raise your voting card. Those against? Resolution 5 is carried. Resolution 6, and the final one, is the approval of a 10% placement facility. That pursuant to, in accordance with listing rule 7.1A and for all other purposes, shareholders approve the issue of equity securities totaling up to 10% of the issued capital of the company at the time of issue, calculated in accordance with the formula prescribed in listing rule 7.1A2 and on the terms and conditions in the explanatory memorandum. Are there any questions from the floor in relation to this resolution? Those shareholders in favour, please raise your voting card. Those against? Motion's carried. Ladies and gentlemen, that ends the voting formalities of this year's annual general meeting for Pure Foods. And the board thanks you for your overwhelming support here and the proxy votes that we've received earlier. I'm going to now hand over to Michael for the Managing Director's update, at which shareholders had the opportunity to ask questions at the end of Michael's presentation.
Thanks, Malcolm. I'd just like to say before we start is thank you all for coming. All the shareholders, every day we go to work and want to add value to our shareholders. So all the team in this room, there's quite a few execs in this team and management. So thank you to everyone and also to those online. So I'm going to give you a bit of a run back over FY21. considering FY21 was our first full year, FY20 only had 2 months. So it's our first year as a newborn, you might as well say. And it was a pretty exciting year. I think that everyone's had a chance to hopefully go through the annual report. And as Malcolm said, more than happy to take some questions at the end. The more questions, the better, because it keeps us all on our toes. You all know why we're here is PFT was formed 2015 by 18 original shareholders with a vision to grow this business into a significant food and beverage business with a Tasmanian centric as we move forward. I'll just keep flicking over there. Go to the highlights, which I think this page really sums it up. As Malcolm also mentioned, financial results were significant. We had revenue north of 90% revenue growth. We actually had 94% revenue gross. Considering the business, that's very close to doubling the revenue in 1 year. And operationally, to double revenue in 1 year is quite challenging. Everyone was working exceptionally hard. I can say that why we were growing at that sort of rate, we had to get more people, more personnel through acquisitions. We invested over $2.3 million in acquisitions. The 3 acquisitions, I'll talk more individually about the acquisitions as we go through. Plant equipment. You can't produce this sort of volume without investing in plant equipment. So we invested over $3.5 million in plant equipment as well. We launched into 3 new channels as well. We launched 29 new SKUs, and a SKU is one product. There's a lot of work in developing one product, let alone 29. So Anita and the marketing team were super busy, manufacturing and sort of producing MPD in 6 to 12 weeks, which is sort of unheard of. Probably the success of that was in October last year when we launched the Homestead Pate range, which I don't know if there's a photo there or not. Yes, Homestead's over there. We launched that at Woolworths nationally in 850 stores, and that NPD was sort of put together in sort of 6 to 8 weeks. In my sort of history of 28 years in FMCG, that's pretty well unheard of, but that just shows you how nimble our team is, and that's how we work at PFT, and we'll continue to grow that way because you have to be fast to market. So that's been exciting. E-commerce, we set up an e-commerce business at another level, joining other Tasmanian produce along the journey with us to sort of feel out where the next opportunity was, and Ken Fleming has been very supportive in looking for further acquisitions. With that e-commerce arrangement, we can find out what other Tasmanian produce out there sells well, and then potentially start some conversations, which has happened as well. One of the biggest things, we've got to have our product available to consumers. We, this time last year, I think we had something like 300 customers. Today we have over 2,000, and that's pretty impressive to be able to access 2,000 more customers. That came through a new relationship formed during the year with Monday Nissan. Monday Nissan look after 1,500 independent stores throughout the country. We're able to secure a large relationship with them. We just started with our pate, we moved into fish, and now we've recently moved into ice cream with those guys. So they have a sales force of 60 to 70 people on the road in a DC in every state in the country. So that looks after all our independents. Our major retail, we look after directly ourselves. Just a little bit of a note, we're delivering to 747 suburbs online with orders dispatched sort of on a Tuesday, and customers getting them within 24 to 48 hours throughout the country, which is logistics 101. So it's a great result. We're able to achieve that. The next slide sort of shows a bit about our distribution, our reach, which I sort of summarise there. I can say that our export business is actually going gangbusters. Our export business is sort of growing at about 50% a month at the moment. Significant growth into Singapore and Hong Kong. We secured an online e-commerce business with Alibaba during the year as well. So they're supplying 7 countries out of Singapore with our product online within 24 hours. So we ship the product to them, and then they put it online, and it goes out from there. So sort of we're playing in channels that a lot of our competitors haven't been able to secure, and we've worked really, really hard to achieve that. I'll just flick over here to the next couple. Keep going through. I mean, you look at the total sales revenues of the operations of the business, as you saw, the entities that we owned at that stage, the total growth was 94 for the group. Woodbridge Smokehouse at 90%, and nice to see the founder of Woodbridge Smokehouse here, Roger Scales, is right with us today. So any questions on the secret recipe, I'm sure Roger will not tell you either because it's top secret. But it's actually amazing product, and we're still winning awards and we're still winning customers at a premium price, which is what Roger developed originally. That was always ethos. It was develop a better product, tasting fish, salmon and trout, which you've achieved and maintained, which is great. And hopefully we've done it better. That operation is currently running at over 200%. So significant. Acquisitions. So, you know, we openly said at the start when this business was formed that it was going to be growth through organic and through acquisition. To achieve one acquisition is a big job, but to achieve 3 in a year is super impressive. We're not talking ourselves up here. There's a lot in an acquisition, whether it's small or large. The same amount of work goes into a small one and goes into a large one. Thank you to Ken, who sort of drove our acquisitions sort of execution. He throws at us, you fix it, and off we go, and we turn into operational success. The first one came along was Daly Potato. So unfortunately couldn't join us today, but you know, that business itself is in a category that's sort of growing north of 20%. That fresh food on the go, lettuce, salads, prepared meals, all that sort of space. So that's been very exciting. During the year, we did some sort of branding refreshing, which Anita and the team did. We launched premium Coleslaw. You might think Coleslaw is easy to make. It's not easy to make. It's all about having the right mayonnaise that makes the product taste good. We're able to extend the shelf life from 14 days to 27 days. And the only way you can extend shelf life is you have the most hygienic factory you can find. And we've increased the standard of hygiene in that factory. So we're now achieving 27 days. Now that means a lot to a retailer. That allowed us to get bigger distribution with Woolworths, and that product now is nearly our #1 selling SKU, and it's our lowest cost of goods SKU as well. So that was a great result and just shows you that we can do anything we want to do. In January, the next acquisition was moved into plant-based foods. Plant-based foods, whether it be beverage or food, is the fastest growing category in the world. You know, it's all about climate change, because the next generation are voting with their feet and their mouths, and they're saying they're going to eat food that is better for the environment. So plant-based foods are getting more and more aligned with traditional food, as in taste and flavour, and better for the environment as well, the way it's actually grown and harvested as such. So Lauds was obviously a cheese-based business. We're about to launch some new cream cheeses shortly, which is really exciting. So the MBD continues with Lauds cheese. And then the most exciting part of the business, which everyone loves, is ice cream. As you can see, the Cashew Creamery over here, quite a phenomenal business, this one. Quite a small business when we bought it, but we've blown the doors off with this business. And, you know, that's doing 2 shifts a day just to produce and keep up with our distribution. It's probably the best, we've been told, it's probably the best tasting plant-based ice cream on the market. Please, we'll have some samples at the end of the day we're going to share with everyone. It's phenomenal. You cannot taste it's not dairy. The IP behind this product, and Jen and Matt, who once again were the founders, they developed this in their kitchen over 3 years of just trying to get the right recipe. We built a new factory for those guys since we acquired them. We've now got, Jen used to make the ice cream on her own with her son and the kids after school. And now I think there's about 6 or 7 people in that factory just making ice cream full time. So we've invested $1 million in new technology coming out of Italy. The plant equipment will arrive. It's on the water hopefully next week and arrive in February. That'll give us a capacity of we'll do about 1,300 sticks an hour. Currently we do 1,300 sticks a day. And the demand is there for us to produce that sort of volume. So we also do a tub as well. There's a picture of a tub over here, which obviously doesn't have the chocolate in it. But the technology we're bringing through will allow us to improve our yield and improve the quality as well. To take it to the next level. We'll also be able to generate the swirl. Sorry, question? Sorry. The ice cream will be there soon. Good to see we've got a good support already. But the technology will allow us to put a swirl through the ice cream, which you've all seen. So it takes us to another level. So super excited, and some conversations are really quite robust with major retailers with that product as well. So hopefully we'll have some news for you shortly as well, which will be a bit of a game changer. I think this slide here is the best one too. That's a great shot that shows you, that just makes you feel very, very much Christmassy. And it shows you where the Daly product can actually land We're doing some work with Daly on MPD, and we hope to be able to share that exciting news shortly as well, which takes it to another level. So we're sort of not sitting back accepting where we came from. We just need to keep challenging ourselves, and you wait to see the next innovation of Daly. So just a little bit of perspective, in December 20 was our largest month's revenue for Tas Pate, 72% well above previous months. So absolutely flying along there. So Tas Pate, I'll go through each entity now as such. Tas Pate itself was the first acquisition that PFT actually made back in pre-listing in June 2015. It is the biggest pate manufacturer in the country. It's growing with a major retailer at 60%. The category is only growing at 10. That's a credit to Anita's strategy into homesteading into premium pate space. The premium pate space is growing significantly. During the COVID, there was so many more people locked down, so they're treating themselves with entertainment type food. And we haven't seen that come off at all since lockdowns have been released. So seeing growth on growth, we've launched 2 new SKUs this year. So we're doing a cheddar product, chicken and cheddar, which has gone into Woolworths nationally. And we're also doing a chili, which is an absolute great with a beer. You've got to try the chili. The chicken and chili is amazing. So we'll keep innovating and keep driving that premium homestead category. Tas Pate originally was very much a baseline entry, but we're taking it to the next level because there's an extra 10 to 12 points margin in selling a premium product. Obviously made with Tasmanian cream and Tasmanian cheese, Tasmanian chicken livers. We're the biggest consumer of chicken livers in the country for pate. So that's a bit of because we have such large contracts we supply with that. And Woodbridge Smokehouse, I sort of mentioned a bit about that before, and I'll talk more about it at the end, but when I give you a bit of an update. But, last financial year, in FY21, it grew at 90%. Once again, doubled the business. Export business grew at 45%. We secured Mondo Nissan ranging to the detriment of one of our competitors. We picked up the business and our partner dropped our competitor and took us on, which was a reflection of the quality and the story, considering we were 30% more expensive, which is always good to sell someone more expensive. It doesn't often happen that way, but that was a quality example. So, plant equipment, we've spent over $1 million in plant equipment for Woodbridge Smokehouse because we've just launched and opened a new hog room. Traditionally, we were buying fillets from the major providers. Now we're buying hog, and a hog is basically a gutted fish. So we've got the technology now and the equipment where we put the hog through and it's automatically filling itself. So our COGS come down significantly, our cost of goods, because we're buying that commodity-based hog and we're value adding ourselves. That fish room opened in Mornington only 3 weeks ago, and we're currently processing about 5 tonne a week of hog. So just to give you an idea of how much that is, I think back in the days when PFT was we were processing about, in total, we're doing about 15 tonne a year. We're doing 5 tonne a week. So that's the sort of scale it's growing at. So moving along a bit further, we're moving to Daly Potato. Daly's been a great story, and it's had significant growth, basically consumer-driven growth, but it's also had a lot of work operationally to, as I said, extend the shelf life, NPD, new packaging updates. We reviewed all the packaging. We had to go through the recipes, make sure they're aligned, develop new products, do some factory renovations. So there's been a lot of work. We've bought some plant equipment. We've spent about probably 300 or 400 grand in plant equipment to improve quality mainly. It's all about and yield and improve safety as well. So Daly will continue to grow because the category itself is growing significantly. It's probably one of the fastest growing categories as well outside of plant-based foods. There's a great shot there. Anita did a deal with North Melbourne where we went over for football. We got a free game out of it, but then we had to hand out 3,000 or 4,000 potato and gravies to all the people there watching the game lovers. The potato and gravy project, I know there's lots of people want to hear as much as we want to hear the great news, and we're very well. I've said we're close before, but we are super close. Only yesterday was final sampling, which I'll hopefully able to announce some super news to you very, very shortly. The product is been out and about in the local independent market, and the early signs or the run rates have been significant. So we know once we can achieve final tick in major, we're going to have a really big potato and gravy business. So, and everyone I know online and everyone in this room is looking forward to that like I am. So look forward to sharing that excitement with you, those news. The Lauds, this is really interesting, is, Lauds plant-based cheese. The category itself, as I said, is growing significantly. We've been able to work pretty hard once again, refresh packaging, won't go through all the QA sides of it, the hygiene sides of it, to clean that up, get it ready for large scale production. We've ordered some equipment as well to improve yields and also improve the product, and also get us into NPD, which we couldn't do. We're moving into sliced cheese, moving into grated cheese, which is where the growth is. There's a lot of grated cheese used for vegan-based pizzas, and sliced cheese, if you can get the product right, sliced cheese is used very much so for sandwiches. And the whole vegan piece is driven by climate change. I'm convinced of that. There's not very often, at least one plant-based meal is eaten at home during the week these days. If not in a restaurant, it's on every menu. So it is the future, and that's where we've got to roll. We were very exciting news. We secured an Indian contract with Lauds Plant-Based Cheese. They've placed an order for about $12,500 worth of cheese, which goes out in a couple of weeks, and that's going into India, and that will be sold into Mumbai to start with, and it goes online. So it's through an e-commerce channel through India, Australian-based Indian company, which is pretty exciting. And the large growth's at 78% as well. This one here is one of my favourites. I think I've mentioned this before, but we did a bit of NPD where we ran our own plant-based cheeseburger, which we did at Dark Mofo this year. So that was using our NPD for sliced cheese to see that we could achieve it. And you need the cheese to melt, which is harder than you think with plant-based, but it was a great success. So it often excites me to have our own burger chain one day. I know there's not that clean on it. The next one is obviously the Cashew Cream, which we get excited about. It's an easy sell when you take ice cream home to the family. There's no problem there at all. But growing significantly on last year grew. We only acquired this business in April this year, so it hasn't had a lot of time to stretch its legs. But we built a new factory. We've ordered $1 million worth of equipment, as I said, and year to date it's growing at 207%, and it continues to blow the doors off there. So I just wanted to just at the end say, sorry, I need to go to the end here. I just wanted to acknowledge, and I think Malcolm mentioned it before, but I wanted to acknowledge the support, firstly, of the board to me. They've been very supportive. Always answer the phone, pick up the calls. We do probably talk nearly every day to one another, each other somewhere. Obviously, outside of that, we've got Justin Hill, Company Secretary, obviously at Page Seeger, great legal firm. And obviously, I speak to probably Justin more than anyone, because company secretaries make sure that CEOs are behaving themselves. So we're always talking often. Obviously, Wise Lord with Nick and Simon, very supportive. Simon's been along for the journey, I think, well before Nick came along. And he knows the business inside out. So thank you for your support. Our bankers, you can't work without bankers. They're not here today, but the CBA, we transitioned the majority of our business to the CBA recently. And we still got a lot of business left for the NAB as well. So thank you to them. And of course, all the staff. They do make me look good. They wonder how we're going to get it done, but we seem to be getting it done. As I said, the business is absolutely flying along. As I presented in the Q1 update, the group, that's Q1 into September, up 137% on last FY21. Tasmania was up 16%, Woodbridge up 201%, Daly was up 40%, Lauds was up 2%, and the Cashew Cream was up 207%. I can tell you after the end of October and November, that run rate has continued. I'd look forward to seeing you and presenting the half-year results at the end of the year, but we've got some significant numbers that we're actually trying to achieve. Just to keep up the demand is quite phenomenal. And I suppose it goes back to the credit of the guys that formed PFT, was that they had a vision that Tasmanian food and beverage was going to be the next biggest thing, and it certainly is for us. So we will continue to grow organically and through acquisition. We're very much on the focus of this is going to be a large scale business, and we're going to keep growing it. So we're working really hard on that as well. So who knows what comes up around the corner. But any questions?
Michael, just I applaud you for what sort of work you're doing, everything like that, with acquisitions, etc. But you indicate, and what I'll see is all the arrows are all going north.
Yes.
why is the share market price in the mid-60s for the last 12 months? Over that?
Yeah, that's a good question actually, and I've been told off before for talking about share prices, but so I won't. All I'll say is that the share price, if we do a good job, the price will look after itself. I can't control the share price, and we often say the same things. I mean, the share price listed at 20 and it's sitting at between 50 and 60, I think, today. So it's nearly 3 times its money. I think that with what we do, if we keep doing the great job we're doing, the share price will look after itself. I won't put a price on it. I won't throw any numbers at you because that's happened previously. But yeah, and exactly right. I mean, it rallied pretty hard early days. It probably was a little bit higher than probably should have been. But you know, we've always said we'll grow organically and we'll grow in scale. And I said when we first started this business, within 5 years, we wanted to have a revenue of north of 100 million. You know, and we're doubling the business this year. We're on track to, you know, we're well above 40% growth already this year, based on last year. So we're on our way to getting this run rate, and further acquisition will help to get to that level. So, any more questions? Tim?
Yeah, the revenue's gone fantastically, but what's done even better is the expenditure. When are we likely to see a profit?
Well, it's all based on to be honest, it's a growth story, this business. Like, you know, we've had to build a foundation. It's like building a house, this business. You know, we've had to build a very strong foundation. And with that foundation is a team. Our last team member, which was a senior team member we appointed, was QA, Barry Hucker, and he's busily working obviously in the factory today. He came from King Island Cheese. So we've had to get all the people in place. We have our financial team, we have operations, we have logistics, we have QA and production. So that team is now full. The business probably, you know, realistically, we need to be in a revenue between 12 to 15 million dollars to be starting making good returns. I think north of 15 will make very good returns because we'll then be covering our cost base. But at this rate, we're going to get there pretty quick. We may even be able to achieve that very close to the end of mid next year, which is where we want to try to get to, because it's basically a revenue story for us now. The cost base is really, we're not growing the cost base, it's pretty fixed now. If you go back, it will not continue to grow. And very much, you know, the planned equipment coming in is also going to get us more efficient, and it's going to improve our yield. I mean, the hog story is a good story. You know, invested $1 million in that hog room, and our cost of goods with hog would have come down about 15%. So you put 15% on top of the 5 ton, you can work out pretty quickly what they'll deliver. So everything we're doing with automation is delivering a return. We've got a return on our investment. But yeah, that's where we'll get to. I'm quite proud of the result. I know it's a small loss, but considering the amount of investment we've put in, and you know, you can't capitalize everything. So we have to be, you can't capitalize everything. So, you know, we're wearing a lot of this growth cost in our P&L, a lot. And obviously being listed, there's ASX expenses, and when you're small, that hurts. But when you get bigger, it's sort of a bit less hurt. As we grow, it gets less. It's a good question.
Well, last ago you talked about going to introduce into water. Where are we now?
We got close. We did a fair bit of work on that, and we're very close to that. And that opportunity didn't sort of evaluate in the end. So we sort of walked away from that. We haven't sort of totally walked away totally. And I mean that was an acquisition opportunity, but didn't come to fruition. So we're now sort of back to drawing board. We've done some work on initial concept on plant-based beverages and things, and we've got a lot of samples. And so we have started the process. We've just, to be honest, we've sort of, ever since we sort of like from October, we've been so busy just keeping up with production. Any new NPD or new acquisition strategy won't be sort of executing that until February, March. It's just peak season for us now, so we haven't really focused on it. But it's definitely, beverages are still definitely on the agenda. It's just right, it's the right time at the right place.
I've got another one. Sorry.
Yeah, no, go for it.
I work over for football
at
Launceston.
Yes.
And I was over there when you came with Susie, came in with the promotion and that over there.
Oh yes, we're all there. Yep, we're all there. Yeah.
Company and the Biggies.
Yes.
And there was a man scrambled for the item. Thank people went past that. I said, "Didn't get that meeting from."
They're a great success, the beanies. We often talk we need more beanies, but and it was, and we're doing a promotion at the moment for Christmas with a sweater for Daly as well. So continue. We bought ice cream scoops out. So Anita's been quite innovative with our promotional activity, where we're aligning ourselves with consumer-led opportunities. You know, sweaters and beanies and all that sort of stuff. You can do plenty of that, and there'll be more to come with that. So I'm glad you got the beanie.
I got the
Oh,
meeting.
good.
I was going to take it to Canada because we can't get there. Get my grandkids.
So I think your question.
Yeah, I was just a bit interested in the methodology for transferring product into the international market, what arrangements you
How it works, yeah.
how secure they are.
Yeah.
How
So we're very lucky actually. All our customers pay the freight. So we have to get the freight to Melbourne. All our exports shipped out of Melbourne. And historically, we can thank probably Roger for this because he set it up that way that the customer pays the freight, because that's the biggest challenge. And I'll tell you, the freight cost, flying air freight has gone from $1.70 a kilo to $4. So our customers are wearing that, and we're still seeing demand. We're wondering what's happening at the other end. Obviously, the consumers in Hong Kong and Singapore are paying that extra price because it would be loaded on top. But we're very lucky, and it's a good question because I've been asked a lot by investors, you know, how have you been impacted by freight? A little bit of freight increase domestically, but mainly through fuel. So, I mean, the price of fuel will also go up, but we haven't seen a lot of impacts, but I'm definitely feeling inflation is coming. I think you'll see cost of food will definitely be increasing across the board in Australia. Inflation is on the run because all food is delivered in Australia through trucks, you know, because we're such a big country and we don't really have a lot of people and there's a lot of transport. So you'll find that the fuel impact on food will be there for sure. But we're very lucky on the export channel. We don't actually commit ourselves to not free into store. We just go free into DC and Melbourne as far as we'll go. And we get support from the federal government for our freight across Bass Strait. So we can claim 40 to 45%. So that's good. Yeah, we never want to be living. That's what happened to some other large listed companies in Tasmania. I think if you followed those guys, they got hurt by freight, international freight. Yeah. Must be some more questions. Any more? No?
Looks like we're all done. Excellent.
Thank you.
Well, Michael, again, I'd like to thank you. You've led a team incredibly successfully this year. We all know those were very good questions, and the questions that we talk about at board meetings, and as you say, constantly communicating with one another. But the passion that your team shows for all of the products in the company and the growth, that is going to get us there to be successful, and through that magic, almost a barrier, isn't it, to go through there for your break-even point and then and beyond that. So on behalf of everyone here, I think, and looking after you looking after the company, we really appreciate it. If everyone could go there.
Who wants an ice cream?
So thanks everyone for attending. Close the meetings up.
Their little hand over there. Yeah, no, we'll go and grab the ice cream set. They're amazing.